Hello and welcome. This is something we're trying out new here. We actually want to cover some things every week in the new year, and basically, Dan and me, every day we have our stand up, and we just talk about the things that Dan has to do and the things that I have to do, and then we start finding something cool on the internet, and we just start talking about it. So I thought, why not make this a format? And instead of having the We Are Developers live days that we used to have, we're gonna have just a chat every other Wednesday, and well, we're not planning it. We're playing it by ear at the moment. But today we got something special for you, and that's basically a year of Dev Digest. You might have subscribed already to the Dev Digest, which is the newsletter of We Are Developers, where we give you like news about technology, we give you tips and tricks, we give you things to play with, and all kind of interesting things that we come across. And Dan is the person that actually then has to create the video to get you excited about it, right?
Yeah, it's good fun. I always like it every week, actually, because I get a real mix. We've got like the procrastination corner, so I always get to sort of, play with some fun stuff. And yeah, it's going to be weird looking back at it, though, because there's been a lot happen. And now we've got a bit of, distance from some of it. It's going to be interesting to see what happened to some of those stories and what came of them. Yeah, looking forward to it.
Yeah, it's pretty bonkers because we looked at it and what we want to do. Like I collect about 200 to 300 links every week, and then I basically filter them down to the interesting ones. And then I sometimes get overboard and post too many in the newsletter, which then people complain about. But at the same time, there are so many things that are just like lively for a day or two. So you find it on a Tuesday and you're like, oh, that's cool news. And then when you send it out on Friday, you're just like, why would I do this? But it was interesting. It would be interesting to see some of the bits, like how long they actually survived and how much they actually made sense afterwards. So without further ado, we actually have a great product here, which we put together, where we have an archive of all the newsletters that we had this year. So let me share my screen, which was just something that was a minute ago. I started sharing this, and I've got two screens. I've got one that is basically that is portrait and one that is landscape next to each other. And I think that's a perfect setup because it actually allows you to test things in a mobile fashion, but also test things in a desktop fashion. But I realized sharing the one on that is basically portrait here doesn't make any sense because then it would be the two of us and then the small screen next to us. So I then basically struggled the last 3 minutes to actually change that around. And I managed to turn it then and basically thought, okay, I keep the physical screen like this, but I just turn it and basically share that. And that ended up that the display setting of my Mac was basically half off screen, and the screen was turned 90 degrees. So moving my mouse left was up and down and left and right. And like, it was one of those crazy bicycles you sometimes see on fun rides where you turn left to go right. So I had no idea where my screen was. And it took me like detaching all of them to make sure I can actually reach the settings panel again. So that was kind of a tough thing to find out. But now we're here. We have the screen here, and this is basically the archive of all the newsletters of the year. So weekly, we bring it out on Friday, and we basically throw it out there. And when I reload this page, and you can play with that one as well, we can actually put that for you in the streaming here as well. Let me quickly put that in there as a banner.
I know we've also got Vince in the background, which we always
shout out to try out, but it's quite fun anyways. And I'm going to get rid of that hiding thing here. And these are basically all the newsletters we had. So the year started in January with 97, and the year ended, well, that didn't end, but last week's was 146. And you see at one time, I kind of got overboard because I had like sometimes 39 links, or this case here, I had 96 links in one newsletter, which probably is a lot for you to do. So it would be fun to get some feedback from people, what they think was going on. So let's get started with the first one and pick something to take a look at. So this was the first one of the year in the new style, because before that it had another layout, and this is what it looked like. So we asked you in a survey what you wanted from the newsletter, and about 50 people actually sent things in. Then we started promoting the World Congress, and we had a reading list and the Code 100 puzzle. And this is something that we put into a lot of newsletters and asked people to come up with like Code 100 solutions that then became people that were in the finals of Code 100. not that many people send things in. So that was kind of like weird. We found that it makes more sense to use social media for that one. So have you tried them as well, or what did you think of the what people keep sending in terms of like we always try to pick winners, and it's interesting to see what people send in for a simple code challenge like that, right?
Yeah. I think when we always sort of talk about it on the stand up afterwards, we always look at sort of the different approaches, and I'm surprised sort of how many people overcomplicate things. I think it shows how a lot of us think, because usually when you show me the solution, it could be sort of 5-6 lines sometimes, and then we see submissions that are off, there's often some really clever ones, but there's some that are so verbose and over complex, and actually they would have done better off by sort of taking a step back from the challenge before they dove into it. That's what it looks like to me. But some great stuff, some very talented, skilled programmers out there.
Yeah, and it's sometimes also. I mean, I'm about to write a blog post about this, like how people approach these things. Like when you have a challenge, like a lead code challenge and a code exercise, people are just like, okay, let's make that one thing. But in development, in like production, you always have to think about like how do I make it generic? And it's a push and pull. Like you can make things too generic, but you can make them like just a one-off, and that feels to me like not programming. To me, programming always felt like algebra to an nth degree. Like basically, we say like 4+1, and then we saw 4+x to make it more generic. And I think it's the same with programming, and it's interesting to see what people come up with. Then we have featured videos, and we always had like handpicked other talks where we basically these were third-party ones, and normally we bring them from the Congress because we get so many videos to talk about. Then we promoted the WeAreDevelopers live talk, which is now this has merged into. And we always have developer jobs. And that's something that people have been wondering about. And this is basically, yes, we are developers, and we have a job section. So our job is to actually, to bridge the gap between development and recruiters. And you started now almost a year ago, almost more than a year ago in this company. And you're typing, which is really, really loud. And what do you think? Like, has your idea of recruiters changed since you started here?
I think that the view's kind of still the same, but because I think I've spoken to more of them though. I think I understand a little bit more about the things they find difficult, because from a developer's point of view, people always roll their eyes at recruiters when they, the age-old one of they send them a message saying, you say here that you're a JavaScript developer. Are you interested in this Java job? And it's usually the way it goes, that they don't understand the tech. But speaking to the recruiters, I think I understand a little bit more that, I mean, imagine being on the outside and trying to navigate the world of tech when you don't write code yourself. So I understand a little bit how difficult it is for them. And I think that's where we sort of come in, right? To try and help those two sides meet and understand each other a little bit more. So yeah, I've maybe got more sympathy for recruiters now. Yeah.
Yeah, I think the interesting bit as well, which I learned when I moved back to Germany, is that developer jobs in Germany always have to have like a male, female, and diverse in it in the job title. So that is a requirement, and I never understood this because it is illegal to not hire somebody because of their gender. So it feels like every time we get these developer jobs in here and I get them sent, I get rid of all these GmbHs and AGs, like what the companies are, the limited companies and stuff, because I try to keep them on one line, because every pixel is a prisoner in a newsletter, because Gmail actually likes to cut them off. So if you sometimes wonder why some of these company names are shorter than they should be, that's the reason, because I want to keep them on one line, because otherwise you might not get the rest in Gmail.
That makes sense.
So
Yeah.
let's take a peek here what we had in those. So this is interesting because we have just had if YouTube, some GitHub gists and these kind of things, but productive privacy. What the hell was that?
Yeah, that jumped out. Yeah, I wondered that. What is that? It's a one-stop shop for productivity apps designed with your privacy in mind.
Oh, that
okay,
basically
so
were
directory.
Yeah, there were different apps that were basically privacy first that you could use, and technically I haven't used any of them. But I also am a very I'm pretty much a purist when it comes to apps. I use Visual Studio Code for almost everything, and the rest comes as script. So, what about you? Like, do you keep trying new things out, and discarding them quickly, or is it something that you normally not? Do you have
I
your
try.
go-to as well?
Yeah, I do have my go-to. I think I went through a period of trying lots of things out, and I'll be totally honest. It's not privacy isn't always the thing that's at the front of my mind. I think like a lot of people, I get sucked in by a nice UI and the features, and then things like security and privacy and things like this tend to come secondary. But I think it's good to see things like this directory that kind of says, well, look, now you can put privacy sort of out of your mind because we've factored that in, and then you can just focus on which one of these privacy focused tools actually works for you. I like that idea. It's good.
It's fun, like Proton Mail. I mean, I use Proton VPN for years now as well, and also Proton Mail to a degree. But you keep seeing that in Hollywood now. Like whenever there's a hacker attack or somebody, a ransomware coming in, it's always a Proton Mail. I always wonder if that's on purpose or if it's really bad advertising for them.
Yeah. I mean, I think still it's quite cool to see though that there's actually apps that are trying to build these extra features and keep it within this ecosystem, like the Proton Mail and then other tools, because you can end up using so many different disparate tools that don't connect, that actually keep it on top of your things like privacy. And when you're moving data between them as well, if you're putting something on one calendar app and then you're using a different mail app and somebody else, you're giving lots of different pieces of data to lots of different companies. So I'm for that. It's hard though, right, to find like a suite that does everything.
Yeah. It's really tricky because I mean I mean calendar and stuff. Hey did the same thing. They just moved from just like being a mail client. They want to do a calendar as well. I had this company the other day just email me and say like, "Hey, we're using AI for you to write your emails for you," and Daniel left the building. And the other they basically said like, "Hey, you want to try out the new tool that writes emails for you in Gmail? It's a plugin." And I mean, I've had information in Gmail since it came around, like 2005 or something like that. So there's like all my contracts in there, all my payment systems. Like, no, I'm not asking a third party plugin just to do random things in my Gmail. It feels like a very strange thing to offer people.
Yeah, we get sucked in by it though. It's the promise of like more productivity, and like it's all the the seamless workflow and all the things that you see in the marketing that I think developers in general get sucked in by things like that. Anything that's going to.
Your microphone is really, really crackling. I don't know what's going on there.
Oh, are you still hearing crackling now?
Yeah, now it's better.
It's better. Okay, let me know if it carries on, because it's
yeah.
Yeah.
Hopefully and the other thing that we always have, like in the first year, is like the top accessibility errors of the year. And sadly enough, they're always the same. I mean, we just had this accessibility live day as well, where we talked about these things. And it's just ridiculous that people find like things like no alternative text or a missing link alt attribute. Like you have like links with SVGs in them without titles, and then these links don't make any sense. So I think these are always good reminder of like what you can do. And I think we're going to do more of those in the future. So
nothing's changed in the last year on that front. Then nothing's changed, because all of those things were exactly the same, weren't they, as what we've just seen in the last sort of month when we were looking at all the accessibility issues. That list was exactly the same. It's like it doesn't. We like to think that there's maybe a more of a movement towards accessibility, and hopefully there is. But yeah, it suggests not.
Yeah, this is an interesting one. Like the interface that I built here, I basically I have an iframe in here, and I wanted to basically show you all the different links in here. And some of them do, some of them don't, because there's a course header on it. And I found no way to detect this. I would love to say like, okay, if it can't be shown in that thing, then basically just I want to detect it and basically see this error here. Like, and I tried an error handler on the iframe. I tried an error handler on the window itself. There must be a dirty way of doing it. So if somebody out there has done this before and actually knows how to detect this, because if you open developer tools, it's actually not a window error, but it's actually a Chrome error. It basically says like you refuse to display. It's a Chrome web data error and not a window error. So I don't know how to catch that, but it would be fun if somebody else out there knows about that. But let's move on. So here we still got the survey going on. We promoted the Congress. We got Francesco's video. He's a good friend of ours, and he's always like happy to come here. This picture always scares me. I don't know. I mean, we have to talk to him about it. It feels like Wallace and Gromit. It really is odd.
He's got a
But
nice big smile, though. Hey.
yeah, I mean, but it's like, what's going on there? And this is also when we had the old design of the thumbnails, which is just far too much going on. It was tough to cut out these pictures as well, so it took us a long time to do that. Handpicked talks, developer jobs again, and then we basically get the featured companies. We also got a bit wild with the emoji back then, which is always a thing to want to do, but at the same time, it can be super annoying if you listen to it as a screen reader user. And I kind of got tired of emoji as well. What about you?
Yeah, I think it's in some way. Somebody said to me the other day that it's like a generational thing. That there's because you do see it, don't you? Sort of each generation has their own sort of like online lingo and the way that they style things. And yeah, it does. It's like a strange thing that somehow just goes out of date and starts to look a bit old fashioned. But it just doesn't happen overnight. It just happens over time, doesn't it?
Yeah, it's weird. So what we had here was the Interop 2023, which is still a thing, and I think it's something that people don't take part enough in. Interop is basically all the browser makers are asking us what features of the web we need in browsers across browsers. So the big complaint that web developers always have, that browsers are differently and not supporting things, this is always a chance every year to do that. And again, I think not enough people take part in that because it's up to us to make browsers better, and they're catching up. There's always in the 90s now. There's not like a straggling browser in the back any longer, but it's something that I don't think enough people do. And I
have a
found this
theory on
one.
that, Chris. I have a
I
theory
found
on
this.
that before we move on to the web museum. I have a theory that people, even though we would like to think that we try and like make everything cross-browser compatible, I think that we have a bit of ignorance is bliss, that if the browser that we're using is supported for the things we're working on, with it then we will make that more of a priority than the other browsers, even though we know that we might be the exception using like a little used browser by comparison to something else. But yeah, I think it's something that unfortunately not everybody factors in.
Yeah, and I think, of course, you got your favorite browser, and I mean, it always. I remember when IE was the thing, and now everybody says like, if you support Chrome, that's it. And then if iPhones wouldn't exist, Safari would be unnecessary as well to a lot of people. But on mobile, Safari is basically quite high and also an interesting audience, because the other problem with like I always found the difference between Safari and Safari iOS and Chrome on Android is like audiences on iPhone are more likely to spend money. It's just a fact that you can see that in the pricing of apps as well. If you go to the iOS store and basically you see that apps are like $20 or something, and everything on Android is 99 cents, and then like lots of ads in it. So it feels like it's the cheaper, like middle of the little kind of thing to for people to do. So I found that interesting. But the whole idea that for years we complained that browsers are these things we don't know about, and now the browsers are all openly doing their research and doing their like, what should we focus on in the next sprints kind of stuff, and nobody's talking about it, feels odd. But then again, maybe it's just that we're in a world beyond browsers by now, where people just like don't even know what the browser is. And I think every operating system is going into a space where the browser will just be a part of the operating system rather than just a thing that you have to open or an icon that you have on your desktop. It's just the thing that you go into as soon as you start the operating system, because I don't think offline operating systems are a thing that still is massively out there. So I don't know.
It's interesting. Yeah, that could be like a really big shift though, couldn't it? And I mean, maybe that's a whole discussion in itself. Like, what does the future of browsers look like? Because actually it might be something that's like abstracted away and just becomes, like you're saying, part of the operating system. And then we don't have the opportunity to kind of play with them as much, and to really experiment with them.
Well, I mean, and then you have the whole thing, like, which drives me crazy on a mobile phone. Like, if I go in Facebook and I click on something and it opens it in the internal browser, and my external browser has all my credit card details and all my addresses and everything in there. So oftentimes I don't buy things online because I don't want to go through that extra step and type in my expensive credit card details in a browser that I don't know, and I don't know where the data goes. So Of course, that's on purpose. They want to control and get your data. That's why they keep the browser in the in the app itself. But it's just sometimes years behind. I mean, when Electron came out and Visual Studio Code, and the big one was Slack that was running on Electron. And in case people don't know, Electron is in essence Chromium, which is the browser engine on Chrome and Edge, and basically bundled as an executable, so you can control the browser view in your app. This was necessary on older platforms when the browser was bad and you wanted to show your content with certain technologies, so you bundled the browser with the operating system with the app and released it that way. But the problem is that the Chrome versions or the Chromium versions in these Electron apps are rather old. So every time Google releases their latest, like, here's all the security bugs that we fixed, it actually is an attack menu on older Electron apps. So at one time we needed those apps because the browsers didn't have a good platform or a web platform that came with it. But now it's actually the other way around. Like, most of the time, the browser that you have in the operating system is newer than the Electron app. And that's why a lot of people start moving away from that one as well. What else do we have here? Antires.com news. Okay, no idea. I thought the Web Design Museum, that was really cool, wasn't it?
I absolutely love these. I mean, I probably once a week go and look at some old website, usually from the Wayback Machine and things like this. Yeah, I can't get enough of it. It's just it's not just nostalgia though, you know, it's great to see where some of the 90s look has come back around. You're seeing a lot of the, what's the design style? I've kind of forgotten it now, like kind of like a brutalism, neo-brutalism. It's very flat, sort of slightly ugly style, and it's almost done on purpose to give us that nostalgia of the 90s. So yeah, I absolutely love it. Let's go for that bad and ugly websites.
Wow, Habro Hotel. I remember that one. I remember people who worked on that one as well.
Was that isometric? Was that isometric as well?
Yeah.
Because I look back and I think that was quite advanced, you know, to be doing that in the browser, and the graphics were actually quite good for the time, you know, and isometric can't have been easy to sort of program in. Oh, wow.
that was a dog breeder. That's amazing. I love that. Like, I mean, what I love is that anybody is allowed to do this. You know, the web doesn't stop you from publishing horrible things like that, even being utterly incapable of resizing images. I love that actually the background image tiles, but it doesn't.
Oh, wow. And the classic the enter button, you know, when what was that trend? There was a real trend, wasn't there? Yeah, the enter screen before you went in. And was that a flash thing, that it was like an HTML page before you went into, because it felt like those
the flash tunnels. Yeah. Flash tunnels. That was fun.
Wow.
Wear an Afghan hound. No, that's really wrong.
That's quite intense, that, isn't it? I mean, going back to accessibility, where do you start?
Wasn't there a band called Afghan Wigs? I think it was one of the sub pop ones in Seattle that was basically on that as well, I think.
That's a good name.
Yeah, McDonald's. I worked on McDonald's in 2000, I think, or earlier, 2002. And yeah, it was just it was a mess, because it was basically a red background with yellow text. And if you work on that all day long, you just basically want to throw away your glasses and actually not see anything any longer. And nobody needed it. Nobody needed McDonald's, because you couldn't order anything there. It was just like, this is McDonald's, and you're like, history of the company. And they deliberately asked me to make the contact page hard to use, because everybody who contacted them was just abusing them.
Wow, that is amazing. So it was almost like, it was sort of Web 1.0 though, wasn't it? In a nutshell, you know, there's no way of you communicating with us. Here's some information, do what you want with it. And that was kind of the internet of back then, wasn't it? So yeah.
And then whenever you put an email in there, we tried to actually make sure that bots can't index them. So you had like an image of the email or something like that. So or you click on it and you had to change something away from the domain name, or it was just a mess. So let's go on. Like 99. I don't think we're going to go through that if we keep that pace that we do right now.
Yeah, no, I know. We'll get stuck. Yeah, maybe let's just highlight the best ones as we go through.
Oh, the developer experience book. That's basically by Adi Osmani. So I'm trying to get him to speak at a conference, but he doesn't answer my emails. But let's see if we can do about that, because it's great to see him how much of career he's done lately. He's at Google, and I remember when his blog was just like a few blog posts, and really cool guy. Really excited about that one. That drawing garden was cute. It was basically just where you could draw a garden and
Oh
move
yeah.
down the floor. So if you need something, that's one thing to do. And I love that people build this. This
Yeah,
could be
totally.
done like in, I don't know, half an hour.
But it's a challenge, isn't it? There's probably, what I like about these things is they're sort of part idea and part experiment. There's always an element of, oh, I wonder how I would do that, you know, without jumping across to something like the 1 million checkboxes. But it's sort of that idea, isn't it? Of you've got some challenge in mind or some visual thing they want to achieve, like the garden here, and then there's some little puzzle to be solved to actually get that to work. So yeah, I always like these. They're a real mix of like art, experimentation. Yeah, love it.
Those the popular code pens of the year, and I mean this is always ridiculous. I mean Anna Tudor and other people that I know, it's just absolutely ridiculous what people do on CodePen, and it's just a fun thing to do. I love that you get these like really creative things, and then you just get like by Jay Hay here, just like here is how to do proper rounded corners.
Yeah, really useful. And it's great. I mean, I see a lot of Jay's stuff, you know, of course, like you could go off and do a whole session on his as well. It's and it's again, it's that mix of experimentation and then like useful, you know, tools that he's built or ways of doing things. This is really cool. I think this has just come out again for this year, right?
Yeah.
The top code pens, yeah. So I think this is definitely worth. I saw this year's yesterday. I haven't actually looked at it yet, but yeah, it's really great. It's a great way to just get inspiration as well for projects, because you can see small scale things that give you ideas. So it's great.
Yeah, Xenia is another one that actually I also contacted her for a coffee with developers, but she hasn't answered yet. I'm going to shame now everybody who hasn't answered me yet.
Yeah, shout out. I have to send them the video afterwards and say you're in there. You just have to watch it to find your shout out.
Exactly. Cool. So 100. This is where we actually did the redesign after the first review, that the survey that we did. And this is where I started to actually do more inline links rather than just listed links. So I thought this would be a good way to have like a prose, like a sentence, and just the links as like the proof if you want to go further. A slash data thing. Then we had like videos and talks from the conference as well. See, this is where I just failed, you know, like this is like 50 pixels that I could have saved, but I didn't know our system to send out emails that much. Then we started promoting the Amsterdam Cope 100 tour. That didn't work. I thought we would have like Cope 100 in different cities and then go to the final at the Congress. But it was just a lot of money for us and a lot of traveling and a lot of stuff, and it didn't quite work out the way we wanted to. It seems like it's much better to do it at the Congress, because that's when we have already 2,000 people in the room. So how did you feel about that? Like,
I mean, obviously, I joined just before the Code 100 Amsterdam. That was pretty much one of my first jobs with the company, and yeah, it was great. It was really good fun to do live. But I agree. I think we put a lot of effort into it, and you know, you don't always get that kind of that feeling of like you've really got everything back that you put in. So I think it's still evolving. We've still got loads of ideas for it, and it's you know, it's a great concept and it's a great sort of idea for a project. We've just got to figure out the best way to do it, and I think we've made some good kind of inroads really in the way we've done it in the last couple of months with the online challenges. It's a lot better.
I mean, it was great to be in person, but I guess we have to tack it onto another event and make sure that people are there. And we found that like when we partner with other events, they have a lot of after parties and stuff going on. So we all, as conference organizers, we all try to make your stay as cool as possible. So basically it was, we were challenging more what's happening already at the event than actually add value to it. So that felt kind of weird.
Yeah.
So here we got the Mac 40th. I don't know if that's going to be embeddable. Probably not. Oh, that is.
I was hoping you're going to click that. Yeah.
Yeah. Fourth day, 40 years of Macintosh and how it changed. That was kind of cute. I'm wondering how it's going to go next with the next chipsets of Mac, because I mean, I remember the dark period when we had these really bad keyboards with the touch bar, and that was like the only thing where I was really disappointed. But hopefully it's going to go better. And this is something that we both got super excited about. Oh, I got the Web Design Museum here again. So basically, I made a mistake of showing the same thing again.
Oh, it
But
looks
I
like
think
it's going to a different slug though. It's to web design history. So I think that's a focus on the actual steps of sort of how web design history has changed, rather than the other one, which was the showcase of like some projects.
And this we're both big fans of. What the hell? Okay, we need to log in. The Gritter tracker from Scotland. That
Oh,
basically has
fantastic.
names of all the gritters. Where is it?
I mean, while you find that, it's, yeah, just to give some context on it, there you are. Yeah, you can see it there. I love these because I think so many people do them for sort of flight paths and all this, you know, very serious projects. And then somebody says, I'm going to use the same technology, but I'm going to do it for just snow gritters. And I'll let you explain why this is so good though, Chris.
It's basically Scottish humor. The names of the, I mean, instead of just having numbers, gritter number 2 and 2, they ask people, the public, to actually say that what the name of the gritter should be like. And of course, we all remember Boaty McBoatface, and it's actually even further here, like Gritty Gritty Bang Bang, Gritalica, Bear Chills, Mr. Snow It
Led
All.
Zeppelin,
They're
Blizzard of
all
Oz.
just absolute magical. They're just wonderful. Snow Place Like Home, William Walleyes. So a lot of them are actually history related at the same time. They're not just stupid puns. They're actually sizzle grit through.
Stone Cold. It was Stone Cold Steve Frostin.
Unbelievable. It's hours of fun, and it just shows that, like, yeah, I mean, when it comes to social media, Scotland is far ahead of many other people. I mean, Scottish Twitter, when people said, was quite amazing as well. So yeah,
you have
this
to
is
read it in
always
the accent as well for it to make sense. You have to read it.
I almost posted it again. So luckily enough, we had it already. Okay, 101. I like that when we have like something like this here. This time around, we used that much space, and then in the follow up, I just moved it up and made it a lot smaller. Although it's the same thing, so it feels like it would be cool to have this as an interaction kind of thing. Yeah, here I already started putting a lot of stuff in, and we had a code challenge. That was a fun one. The tried to find games of tic-tac-toe.
Yeah, we had some good responses. Yeah, it's cool. I think there's some good ones. Oh, we still have the 3 quick questions going at that point. I know we kind of retired it a little bit, didn't we? We want to try and maybe do more sort of on the ground when we're at the Congress and things like this. But yeah, it's good to see that things, you know, are evolving. We've definitely changed quite a bit since then.
Yeah. And yeah, math crossword, reading QR codes without a computer. That was mental. It was basically somebody explaining how to read a QR code and what the different parts are, and how to actually read it as a human.
Wow, decoding it. Again, it's the same thing though, right? That you just love the fact there's somebody out there doing it.
Yeah,
that's great.
That was the venue for the event that we were at in Amsterdam. So that was just really fancy. I was really excited about that one.
It was a nice sort of it was an odd one, wasn't it? Because you're in this incredible venue, but you're doing like a live coding show, and it's, you know, the people that would usually go there were sort of, okay, this is a strange venue for it, but I thought it really worked. It was great.
Yeah, and yeah, it was really impressive. And I mean, Amsterdam is always easy to fly to, so that was a good thing as well. Okay, let's go 102. You're hitting your microphone again really badly somehow. What are you doing? Show us your hands. No, it's better.
No, I could hear it that time. Yeah, before I couldn't hear my the rustling, but I could hear it that time.
I love that joke. Knock knock. Race condition. Who's here?
Again, like the puns. They're a good part of the newsletter as well. The puns.
There still are. I may still have them in there, but we put the title back to something that people want to click in their inbox, because we found that the jokes don't work when it comes to reading things. We had this Rimac thing where we basically could drive the fastest car on the planet, so that was quite cool. And yeah, look at that, how much space we used for our own events back then. That's something we changed lately a lot as well. So there's the ASCII theater. I thought that was quite fun, which basically shows MPEG streams in ASCII.
Oh wow.
And
Wow.
I mean, yeah, it is pretty fun because actually, I mean, MPEG streams are 256 characters. So if you actually can use ASCII in different colors, you can just stream them that way. There was a Blinken Lights was a SSH server that you could connect to, and you could see the whole of Star Wars: A New Hope as ASCII at one time, as an SSH connection. So
I love the way that they've got it like a cinema, today's screening. So is that like a copyright kind of protest, or how does that
pretty
work? Do they
sure
get
it's a
ranked?
copyright issue, but it's quite fun as
Yeah.
well. So there you go, like SSH watch ASCII theater, and then you can watch the whole movie. I love the popcorn flying as well.
Very
Excellent.
clever.
Cool. Superb owl trafficking, where we got the Super Bowl traffic. Look at that. Who's that handsome guy?
Hey, there he is. Oh, look how young he looks. Yeah, time flies. Yeah, that was good as well. That was nice. That was a nice way to join the company, get involved and be a part of Coffee with Developers. I had done one actually before, but yeah, that was really good. I was more interested though at the top, the center a div. I think it's almost like a meme, isn't it? Like, how do you center a div? And I was just intrigued as to what the article was going to say.
Sensitive? What do you mean?
Yeah, so just there in the middle on news and
Center
articles.
div. Oh yeah, that's. I mean, this is basically annoying me to no end because it's an arrogant thing from non-CSS developers to say like that's an impossible thing to do. And it's been, we could do it with hacks since 1997, and we now have like thousands of ways in the browser to make it proper. It's just a matter of like learning about it and reading it up, or hopefully ChatGPT giving you the right result. Which is, this one is one of the easiest ones: display flex, justify content, align item center. And I love that this article by Josh, who is also, we haven't had him on the show yet, but it would be fun to have him as well, that he does all these interactive bits in his blog posts. So you can actually start playing with the things. And I know a lot of how much work that is, and it's just very beautifully done. So these are always interesting to take a look at and learn from it. And hopefully, if we keep doing it that way and feeding it back to the engines, I love that little detail as well. If you go back to the bottom of the screen, he comes out on the side and tells you like about his newsletter. So that's
it's beautiful
really
design.
Yeah,
it is. It's beautiful design. Really is. Everything's really consistent, and yeah, such a great in-depth article there as well. Like, I love that. Brilliant.
When you go on the shore, he's smiling, and when no thanks, he does nothing. That's pretty cute as well. Yeah,
it's impressive.
Cool. So that was the really annoying thing about that one was I always took the picture when that was the time when I put every newsletter on our magazine as well, which I stopped doing now. And I always wanted to have a picture for it. It had like superb owl trafficking as a Super Bowl traffic. The analysis was the main article here. And I then asked Bing to actually generate an image with AI with an owl and a traffic light. And it got every single traffic light wrong. Like the order was like green on top, or there was a blue light in it. And I was like, we spent decades clicking images of traffic lights to go past reCAPTCHA. That data should have been in there, right?
And apparently the reCAPTCHA stuff or does actually, when you're filling in a captcha, right, it's actually filling in something on Google Books. I read that once, that it's actually, So yeah, we've definitely done enough traffic lights for AI to know which order it goes in. Yeah, crazy. Oh, what's that then?
We always have games to play with, so I can't remember what that one was. Oh, we had like teen riders, haters, plants. What? Put one tile into each word.
Oh, do you maybe add? Oh, I see. Between any of the letters, yeah, tween or anything like that.
Yeah.
Okay. Yeah. Okay. That's quite nice.
Okay. Fun. Cool. 5-year right to party, 30 to third party. That was basically, that was an interesting one where I got Bruce and Ben in, both friends of mine from browser days, because it was the iOS apps in the EU. Basically, iOS didn't allow for other browser engines, and the things didn't work out. So yeah, I mean, I had lots of information about that here, and it was a great Coffee with Developers episode. And it's one of those we want to do more, like off the cuff, like something cool happens, get two people in and start talking about them. and get that out. So that was done within a day, I think. We released that one, so that was pretty fun.
Yeah, and it's packed with information. I learned a lot, you know, in that, because both of them are very, very knowledgeable on the subject. They've been around for a while, so they know the kind of background, the context. Yeah, it was brilliant.
Look at that. What was that about?
Oh yeah. Oh, Wolf Clicks. Yeah, yeah. That was a. Oh yeah, for the app router. Yeah, that's it. I remember now. God, it feels a long time ago, doesn't it? Yeah, I think it was just a dog API, wasn't it? In the end, dog image API, and is it still there? Let's see.
Yeah.
Oh, that's it. Yes, yes. And just showing how that fits in the app router, because I think it was at that point a lot of people moving over from the pages router to the app router, and it was a lot of people complaining about it. But I mean, to see how things have changed now, it's like, to me, it just totally makes sense. The mental models and everything. It wasn't as big a change as I think people were worried it was going to be.
Oh,
And it was
look
an
at the
excuse to get some dog images. I know. Look,
this
at
is
them.
still one of my. Yeah, I'm going to get stuck now. This is actually my favorite API, Dog CEO, which basically is a CEO magazine for dogs, and it has an API where it can basically look at different pictures of dogs and stuff. So this is my go-to API when I do demos. So
Don't you just
yeah, okay, we are at 105. Oh, that was a chat. That was an interesting challenge for Code 100. I remember showing you this one, and you were like, "Okay, how the hell I'm going to do that? Want to explain how to do that?" So we asked people to actually give us the amount of pixels in green.
Yeah, yeah, you completely blew my mind. It was like when you're looking at something and you think you understand it, and then someone, well, it's essentially what you said was like invert exactly what you're thinking about. So my original thought was, you know, try and get all of the green pixels by in some way, you know, forming that shape. And then you said, well, if you just put 4 circles around the outside of a rectangle, you're left with the green bit in the middle. And so you could just do it like that. So it was a really good example of sort of you're actually thinking about the exact opposite of how you should be thinking about it.
Yeah, that was good fun.
It's great.
Then we had like C3 Festival going on. Mario Kart 3 in the browser. That was also amazing. And I don't know if it's still a thing, but yeah, basically they used WebAssembly, I think, to put it in there, and you can basically play Mario Kart 3 in the browser, and it's actually smooth as hell, and it's really beautifully done. And what I love most about it is that it's open source. You can look at the source code as well.
Wow.
So you're not just having the game, but it actually does the job. And I show once again that I'm really, really bad at gaming. But yeah, that was one of the things you find out about in the newsletter. Okay, let's move on. DHH in HD. So this is when we started getting the videos in for the conference and actually doing more information about him and our speakers, and started promoting those.
On that one, Chris, just to jump in on the just to go back to the DHH stuff, you know, it's interesting when we're saying about these articles, some of them are sort of several months old, and looking back, in that video, DHH mentioned, you know, this idea of, you know, disposable tech and everything moving very quickly and things being throwaway. I recently bought something that was built by an indie hacker, and I had some questions about it. The product wasn't quite what I was expecting when I bought it, and the email that they've got on the website doesn't work. They obviously don't man it anymore. There's basically no way of contacting the creators. And so now, 8 or 9 months down the line from when DHH was saying that, I agree. I think that there's an issue with how we think about tech and the tools that we then make with it. Everything's disposable, and I'll move on. And then the people perhaps buying the products that you've already moved on from.
And at the same time, he's a proponent of like pay once for the whole life. Like, and it feels like that's an interesting thing to say. Like, I mean, like you're going to have a lifetime license for a piece of software, and you're like, what if it's not compatible with any of the platforms that are coming in the future? Like, what do I do with it then? Like, I mean, the subscription model is a different story. I mean, I just bought Duolingo, and like not Duolingo, Babbel, and I bought another Rosetta Stone because they had like a Cyber Monday thing for life. And basically the license was for the next 150 years. So that I understand, like something that you subscribe to, but a piece of software, I found a lot of software that I use don't get updates. Like, I mean, video editors that I used to use DVD writers that I don't need any longer, these kind of things. So it feels weird to offer a thing for the whole year. So I don't think we're going to spend the rest of it going through all of those. But let's take a look at how the Challenger, how the newsletter itself kind of changed. So Daytona founders, and we had a lot of events going in, and that's something that changed lately. I think it's like we had partner events, and it would be interesting to get feedback from people if they want more events in there again, even third-party events we've got nothing to do with. So it would be interesting to see what people want with that. Emoji combiner, that was fun as well, where basically you just take one emoji and another, and it makes a different color emoji out of it. You cannot do it in emoji itself. This has to be generated as a SVG, but you can use JavaScript, for example, to split some emoji. In case you see, for example, the family emoji, and you do a JavaScript split on it, and actually turns it into 4 characters, like different smileys.
Does it really?
Yeah, it's
Wow.
really, emoji are weird as hell. It's really interesting what you can do with those. So what got here? Get off my cloud. That's when I stopped using bullet points to get more space in. And I wonder if people like it more or not, because it was, I think it makes for longer reading, not like skimming, but you get a lot more in. But I don't know if people like it. I always found that so hilarious as well. Like, I mean, Scott is really funny, and Sead is also funny as well. But this looks like Scott is blind and Sead is helping him out.
I can't unsee it. As soon as you said it, I know it's usually, we notice these things once we put them in the newsletter and it's gone out, right? And we've already previewed it, we've looked at it plenty of times, but it's always the way you realize it the second you press publish.
It was really bizarre. Gift cities, different gifts from GeoCities.
Oh yeah, I love this.
It's a search engine of all the gifts that people use in GeoCities, so that was pretty ridiculous as well.
They never made any sense. They were just random, weren't they?
Yeah. Oh yeah, basically like, oh, I have the best one to show that my website is under construction. You don't see them anymore. Look at it. Yeah, typo. Chris, I failed as a writer. COD 100.
Oh, COD 100.
We should do that. Make it a fishing competition or something.
Yeah.
Maybe for security day, like fishing with PH.
Yeah.
Oh, that's bad.
Oh, the GitHub auto scanning tool that they added.
Yeah, that was fun. Microsoft Exchange servers. That's when we interviewed the winners from COP 100 and the finalists and stuff. So that was a lot of work for you, wasn't it?
I mean, it was, yeah, there was quite a lot going on. But that was a really good session, actually, because, you know, you kind of have the event and everything's going so fast, and then afterwards, when you hear about what was going on in their mind, and they both had this sort of it was competition but respect, and they got on really well, and they knew that they're actually paired up in the semi-final together as a pair, so they'd sort of got to that point together, and then they had to almost, you know, stab each other in the back and go and do a head-to-head in the final. But it was just really good to like see the attitude they had afterwards. They were great.
So this one was fun as well, like a tutorial on like fire and smoke in real time and how to do that and all the math behind it and physics behind it. And I love that kind of stuff, but I'm also a geek, so I don't know. But this
I love it when you see it come down into code. Yeah, so you can see how that's then going to be used, because it's also motion graphics as well, right?
Yeah. Oh yeah, that's part of like I think a lot of stuff is like in the products nowadays as well, like in just editor plugins or these kind of things, so you don't have to do that by hand. But somebody had to do the research, so that was not bad. Okay, there we had like a Raven partner group. That was a hackathon we had with them. That was fun. I didn't know just how much challenges supermarkets have in terms of like what they need to do in their IT place. And yeah, they had like 5K and 3K prizes, so that was pretty amazing as well. Yeah, oh yeah, the Wi-Fi only works when it's raining. That was pretty mental as well. Like it's there was like, I think it was a shortage on the roof or something, that the Wi-Fi was only possible when it was wet. So
wow.
Yeah, I think
they discovered that as well.
You played with that one a lot, didn't you? Like color match.
Oh yeah. I love these, yeah, sort of color acuity tests. Yeah, I think they're like it depends how sort of front end you are, right? But I think it's a useful skill to just have, and you have to train it. It's like your music ear or your eye with art. So yeah, I really enjoy that, and it's a great thing that someone's made as well. To actually have all of that working in the background. Then you're selecting a color, and it has to figure out if it's matched perfectly and how closely matched, and giving a score on that. It's really clever.
Cool. Okay. Oh, that was the npm package with 700k installs that does nothing. That was fun as well. I used that in a few presentations lately, and it's always an interesting thing how people don't know that problem. That like npm seems to have weird things. That was another off the cuff thing where the XZ backdoor came in, and I got this security guy in immediately, and we talked about it. So that was good fun.
And good if you didn't understand what happened, because there was so much buzz about it, but it was quite technical to really understand what happened. And Faros did a really good, it was with Socket, wasn't he? Socket.dev. Yeah, did a really good explanation. It's a really good episode, and that's actually on Buzzsprout as well, so people can go back and listen to that as well as an audio podcast. I'd recommend that. It's a really good one.
Cool. The true crime. I put so much effort into these stupid puns, and then nobody bothered. It was fun. And that's where I got kind of like overboard. That's when most of it is blue. And I'm like, okay, I should stop down on that. But Devin was the first time introduced back then, which now available to all for like $500 a month.
Is it taken off though? There was buzz for about a week, and then I haven't heard anything really. There was a lot of controversy, I think, about some of the promises that it made in the marketing. Which, I mean, let's be honest, most tools have promises that they don't quite deliver on in the way that they sell in the marketing. But I think that made Devin, people sort of lost a lot of excitement for it because of that.
Yeah, and I mean Daytona, who are friends of ours that actually do the platform for Code 100 as well, also released one of those agents. And I think it's just become the agent thing for everybody. I mean, we talked about models, then we wanted to have a model marketplace that didn't work out, and now everybody's offering agents. And it kind of feels to me like we're going back to Cortana and Siri again, just on a code level now. So it's an interesting one how we run in circles with that one.
Yeah, definitely.
Oh, that's a long one. Look at that.
Oh yeah, this was definitely one you started to go overboard, wasn't it? Yeah. It's good though. There was a lot in there. Because we had the Code 100 kind of look backs and look forward, whatever it was at that point. Yeah.
Yeah, a lot of Code 100 stuff there, and partner stuff as well. Old school cursor in Figma. Yeah, that track not found game, that was incredible as well. Like if you want to take a look at that one, it's actually 113, and that was a JS13K, where basically we have a code competition with 13K of JavaScript every year, and that was a really fun one. That's when I started the Dev Digest archive for people to actually start looking into the archive. So basically all the links that you see here are also available sorted here. So you don't lose anything with WeAreDevelopers. We keep everything on our platform and actually do it there. Oh, where we had the DTX Manchester, where we allowed people to bet on the different challengers. So that was fun as well.
Yeah, and it's cool as well. You made that tool for it as well. You can see it, the kind of reordering live, and that had to there was like a back end to it, wasn't it? Like a fairly simple back end, but you still had to then have that being streamed, and yeah. Good to see.
Well, you say a nice backend is basically Google Sheets, and Google
Sheets. Yeah.
It's an output which is undocumented, but it's an API endpoint, and you just call it from there. And I call it every few seconds and get the new data in, and break the cache with like adding a random string at the end of it. So that's how I've done that.
Oh, clever. Okay, nice.
So that was fun. Then weird code things when we started to talk about JSON errors and stuff like that. And then we had the follow-up for the Rewe hackathon, how that worked out. So that was interesting to see as well. Super Mario level recreated on a typewriter. The things I find is just bizarre.
It is amazing, this though. I mean, I'll agree. Yeah, you do manage to find. I don't know where you find them, and I almost don't want to know. I like the fact that you just pull out these tools that are so random, but they're always amazing. And that typewriter one was mind-blowing. It looks like it, it's got the visual look as well as the kind of novelty. Yeah, it's great.
So yeah, let's go through them quickly just by looks, what we've done here. I mean, people can take a look at it themselves. Your hour is almost over. So there's so many things in there. But yeah, it's longer and shorter, longer and shorter. It must be fun. Oh, there we go. Saying my own video because we didn't have one for the week, I think.
Yeah.
So it came out and I was like, okay, let's use my own then. Fine. The Merch Festival was fun in Berlin as well, where we did the Coffee with Developers live recordings.
Yeah, a different feel as well. I think we've been to two events this year, that one and the Half Stack London, that had like a really different feel to your normal sort of conference. I mean, that one we were out on a kind of makeshift beach almost, weren't we, outside of the venue doing those sessions. That was a lot of fun. Very hot though.
LGBTQ. That was the beginning of Pride Day, where we did everything with like love is love and stuff. So that was fun. And yeah, this is getting bigger and bigger. And this is actually another Raver thing. They did a lot this year, didn't they?
Yeah, yeah. And I didn't realize there was so much going on, with kind of tech in retail. Yeah.
And yeah, this is the one with the most links. This is where it really, really went down.
Oh,
holy crap!
Oh. And OpenAI, I think it'd be interesting as well to see if you could almost do a search on I don't know whether it's brands or terms, which ones have come up the most in the news. Because to me, you never go with a week really without having a big news story around OpenAI. It was everywhere this year.
Yeah, we kind of moved away from that. Like we want to have fewer news items, and when if we take at the latest ones right now, then it's basically more of the topic and not news. And then we have some news here is like, but as I said, like I release it once a week, and it feels like it's outdated by the time it comes out. But that probably only because I read so many newsletters. Like it might be outdated for you, but it might be still news to some. So it will be interesting to see what people think, if we should do more news, if we should do more other things. Here is for the first time I also started putting the jobs and the companies to check out next to each other. So we saved a few pixels again. So hopefully that'll work out. On the mobile, they're below each other, so that's really not the issue at all. So yeah, I mean, we got like 4 minutes left. It was a ride. It still is a ride, and we have to write the new one for this Friday and for the time. I'm off on the 23rd onwards until the new year, and I guess you take vacation as well. So it will be canned ones as well. We had a few of those before where we both were on vacation, and he said like, where we said like, okay, these are basically number 1 and 2 and 3 where we're not available. So that will be probably the same for the newsletters coming up. But we've got lots of cool stuff to come. We record a lot of talks, and it's going to be interesting to see what people want from it. Those code demos would be interesting to know if people want them as well, because I find them always amazing. What's your take on those?
I love them. I think it's inspiration, if nothing else, and it's something, it always gets you thinking in a different way about what you can do with code. It's usually JavaScript, right? But yeah, I love it. Personally, I'm all for them, but yeah, it'd be great to hear what other people think.
So we have this data interface here. If you go to the main page as well, you get the same, just the links as like details. So if you would like, for example, OpenAI, you can do a search and it would automatically open all of those that actually have OpenAI in them. So you can use that as a reference kind of thing. And you can also click on them here, and then you see which ones are there. And that's just the links. So it's not the browsing interface that we have, but it's a simpler interface with that. And of course, as this is data, I thought we do a Coffee with Developer, a Code 100 challenge as well, which we're going to announce in social media in a second or tomorrow. I don't know yet. And that's basically what that one looks like. So puzzles. We have a lot of those puzzles. Might be doing a thing as well on those, like saying which ones we used in the past. Dev Digest 2024. And this is what I want people to do this time. I mean, you've seen the bar that I have up there. That was actually fun to write because it was not as easy as I thought it would be. But you have the data set as well. So basically, if you look at the data, you got like all the different Dev Digests, the title, and all the links in them. So what I want people is to do to take that data and use an ASCII, created an ASCII bar chart from it. So people can submit that, and hopefully there's going to be a lot of interesting things coming up. And yeah, it's fun. I love this kind of data-driven stuff, but it's skills we forget. Like instead of we just basically use a charting engine and then install 5,000 npm modules for it. But this is just basic math, and it's not that hard. But it would be interesting to see what kind of solutions people come up with.
Yeah,
and I guess
especially when you said, having showed it, Chris, about the solution, as always, is simpler than you think. That's the only tip I would give.
Well, that's the thing. Like, we don't do these challenges just for throwing up challenges. We also write the solutions, so make sure that it can be solved. So that would be unfair if it weren't. But it's just challenging ourselves all the time as well. So this was the review. We went, we just got half of it done. But there was so much information, and there's so much backstories to tell about the different things that we find in here. So hopefully people liked it. Hopefully we can do that more. And we're going to see you in the next year with Chris and Dan show every Wednesday. Maybe shorter, maybe not an hour, but we'll see what's going on. And sometimes we get friends in if we got things to discuss. As we said in the newsletter, when something cool happened, we just pulled in people in for recording with Coffee with Developers. But there's nothing that should stop us from doing it live. So without that, that's me. That's it from me.
And that's it from me.
Excellent. So see you online.
Nice one. Thanks.